So, you're looking for a dog trainer in the Sweet Valley area, and you want to make sure you're making the right choice. Well, you're in the right place. This guide is going to walk you through everything you need to know, from the kinds of training methods to look for, all the way to our specific local rules. You know, living in Sweet Valley means we've got all these beautiful spots to get outside with our dogs. And with some good training under your belt, those walks become so much more relaxing and fun for both of you. It just makes every outing a genuinely great experience. Okay, so let's start with the most important part. How do you actually find a great trainer? How can you tell who's a real professional and who's the right fit for you and your dog? It really boils down to understanding their approach and, of course, checking their qualifications. You're going to hear this phrase a lot, and for good reason. Positive reinforcement. This is really the modern standard for dog training. And it's not just about tossing treats around. It's a whole philosophy about teaching your dog what you want them to do and making it rewarding for them. This is how you build a really strong, trusting relationship. Okay, these letters can look a little like alphabet soup, right? But think of them as proof that a trainer has put in the work and is committed to their education. For everyday manners and obedience, certifications like CPDTKA and KPA-CTP are fantastic. Now, if you're dealing with something more serious, like deep-seated fear or aggression, you'll want to find a specialist with credentials like CBC-CKA or IABC-CDBC. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual programs and how much they cost. There are a few different ways to go about training, and knowing the typical prices in our area will definitely help you plan your budget. The two most common options you'll see are group classes and private lessons. Group classes are awesome for puppies that need socialization or any dog that needs to practice focusing with other dogs around. Private lessons, on the other hand, are totally customized and are perfect for tackling those specific behaviors that happen at home, like, say, barking at every single delivery truck. There's also the board and train option, which is kind of like a training boot camp where your dog stays with the professional. If you're considering this, it is absolutely essential that you confirm they only use positive, force-free methods. You should always ask for a tour and see exactly how they interact with the dogs in their care. So, just to give you a quick ballpark number, this is the typical range you can expect to pay for a single 1-hour private session around here. It's a handy benchmark to have in mind when you start looking at different trainers and their packages. And this table gives you a wider look at the costs across Luzerne County. You can see how a 6-week puppy class is pretty affordable, while something as intensive as a 2-week board and train is a much bigger investment. This should help you figure out what works for your goals and your wallet. You know, training isn't just about getting your dog to sit and stay. It's also about being a good neighbor and a responsible member of the community. And that means knowing the local and state rules that we all need to follow as dog owners. So here are the 3 big ones to remember. A rabies vaccination is required by state law for any dog over 3 months old. You'll also need to get your dog licensed every year through the county. And finally, Pennsylvania has what's called a controlled dog law. Really, the simplest and safest way to make sure you're following that is to just keep your dog on a leash whenever you're in public. All right, once you and your dog start learning some new skills with your trainer, you're going to need places to go and practice them. And luckily for us, we've got some really great options right here in our area. For practicing that nice loose leash walking, Francis Slocum State Park is just perfect. If you need a safe, fenced-in spot to work on recall, the dog park over at Kirby Park is your best bet. And if you want to get your dog more comfortable around people and some urban noises, the Courthouse Greenway is a fantastic choice. Okay, so you've done your research, you've maybe found a few trainers that look promising. Now comes the consultation. Going into that conversation prepared with the right questions can make a world of difference. These 5 questions are a great way to guide your chat. You really want to hear them talk about positive reinforcement, definitely ask about their credentials, and it's so important that they can create a plan that's tailored specifically to your dog's needs. Finally, if you're dealing with a behavior issue, seeing if they're open to working with your vet is a huge green flag. When it comes down to it, finding that right trainer is really just the first step toward a happier, more fulfilling life with your dog. It's what leads to those calm, peaceful walks at places like Francis Slocum, easier visits when friends and neighbors come over, and just a deeper, stronger bond between the two of you. Best of luck on your training journey.